I need to share something deeply personal, something I've been carrying for a while. I know some people might judge me for what I'm about to say, while others might understand. Either way, I have to let it out. I'm a 33-year-old man, and this is the story of how my relationship with my girlfriend Mia, a 30-year-old woman, fell apart and how I found solace in the most unexpected place, with her stepmother's sister. I met Mia during my college years, shortly after serving 4 years in the military. From the moment I saw her, I was drawn to her, but I held back. She was 2 years ahead of me in school, and even though I was older, it felt awkward to make a move. However, Mia didn't let that stand in the way. One day, she approached me on campus, teasing me about being shy since I didn't talk to many people. I laughed it off because anyone who knew me from my military days would never describe me as shy. Back then, I had a reputation for being quite social, especially with women. I wasn't lacking in companionship, but Mia saw through my quiet demeanor, and that conversation broke the ice. We started spending a lot of time together, and on her birthday, we officially became a couple. For a while, everything felt perfect. After Mia graduated, she moved back to her hometown and started working as a teacher. Her town was only an hour away, so we saw each other frequently, spending almost all our free time together. When I graduated, I found a job in her town and we decided to move in together. It felt like everything was falling into place. We had a rhythm, a shared life, and I genuinely believed we were building a future together. Everything changed one day, and it started so innocently. I was giving a co-worker a ride home because his car wouldn't start. His place happened to be near the school where Mia worked. As we drove past, I decided to call her to see if she was still at work. She said she was grading papers and would be home late. That seemed reasonable, but I noticed her car wasn't in the school parking lot. I casually mentioned that I was nearby and offered to stop by, but she quickly told me not to bother and to just head home. There was something off about her tone, a hesitation that didn't sit right with me. I didn't press her on it, but when she came home an hour later acting like everything was normal, my suspicions grew. That night, I decided to test her reaction. I initiated intimacy, but she brushed me off, claiming she was too tired. Instead, she suggested we plan a date night for the weekend. I agreed, but by then, doubt had taken root. The next morning, while she was in the shower, I couldn't resist checking her phone. What I found confirmed my worst fears. There were messages between her and someone named Liza. The texts were cryptic, with gaps that suggested she had deleted parts of the conversation. I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I began planning my next steps. Throughout the week, Mia kept bringing up our upcoming date night, and I played along, acting enthusiastic. I took the day off on Friday and went all out. I ordered flowers to be delivered to her school, including a note about how much I was looking forward to our weekend. She texted me, saying she loved me and couldn't wait. That evening, when she came home, she was in high spirits until she noticed my packed bags by the door. Confused, she asked where we were going. That's when I told her I was leaving because I knew about Liza. The color drained from her face. She broke down immediately, confessing to the affair and insisting it only happened once. I was stunned by how quickly she admitted it. When I asked her why, she said Liza made her feel good about herself. She begged me to work things out, but I told her I needed time to think. I packed my things and checked into an extended stay hotel. The first few days were rough. Mia had been the only woman I had seriously considered marrying, and the betrayal was a heavy blow. But in a strange way, I also felt relief. I had found out before we got married or had kids. As time passed, I started hanging out more with friends from work, trying to distract myself. One night, a co-worker invited me to an open mic comedy show. That's where I ran into Emma, Mia's stepmother's youngest sister. I had met Emma once at a family event, but we hadn't talked much back then. This time, we struck up a real conversation. She remembered me, and I was surprised by how well we clicked. Emma was stunning, confident, and had a sharp sense of humor. By the end of the night, we exchanged numbers and made plans to attend another show together. At that point, I was still texting Mia occasionally, trying to process everything that had happened. But Emma quickly became the highlight of my life. After our second comedy show, one thing led to another, and we ended up back at my hotel. That night was unlike anything I had ever experienced. We agreed to keep things casual, and our friends with benefits arrangement began. About a month later, Mia found out about Emma and lost it. She called me in tears, cursing and accusing me of betraying her. She even dragged her father and stepmother into the drama. Her dad initially threatened me, but when I calmly reminded him that Mia had cheated first, he backed down. He even apologized, admitting he hadn't known about her infidelity. Mia, however, wouldn't let it go. She texted me every day, begging for another chance. I responded occasionally, out of politeness, but I had already moved on emotionally. Looking back, Mia's betrayal was painful, but it forced me to find clarity. Emma, who I had never expected to connect with, became a source of joy and healing. Mia's actions taught me resilience and self-worth. I still care about her in the sense that I hope she finds peace, but my life has moved forward and it's better for it. After becoming increasingly suspicious of my wife's recent behavior, I decided I needed help to uncover the truth. A trusted friend referred me to a private investigator named Tom. He had left the police force years ago and had since built a solid reputation in his new career. Tom was known for being thorough, meticulous, and relentless in his pursuit of the truth. I had no doubt that he was the right person for the job. When we met, I handed him the incriminating emails I had discovered and shared the little information I had managed to piece together about my wife's recent activities. She had been acting distant, often coming home late, and offering vague explanations. I felt in my gut that something was wrong, but I needed concrete proof. Tom listened carefully, taking notes and asking questions, then assured me he would get to the bottom of it. Over the next few weeks, Tom worked diligently. He tracked her movements, documented her routine, and gathered evidence. When he finally presented his findings, the level of detail shocked me. The report he handed over was comprehensive. It included exact dates, precise times, locations, and even photographs. There was no denying the reality staring back at me. My wife had developed a predictable pattern. She would drop our kids off at her parents' house, then meet up with her ex-boyfriend for lunch. The meetings didn't end there. They would spend hours together at a rundown motel before she picked up the kids and returned home, acting as if nothing had happened. The duplicity and coldness of it all were like a punch to the gut. I knew immediately that I couldn't continue in this marriage. Growing up, I had witnessed my own parents cheat on each other repeatedly. The constant lies, the chaos, and the emotional fallout had left deep scars that never truly healed. I had sworn I would never let my own children go through that kind of turmoil. The decision to file for divorce was painful but necessary. I wasn't going to let history repeat itself. Determined to understand the full scope of the situation, I asked Tom to dig into the man my wife was seeing. Once again, Tom delivered. The man's name was Ben. On the surface, he seemed to have an enviable life. He was married, had 3 children, and held a prestigious position as the vice president of sales at his father-in-law's company. The irony was thick, and this new information gave me the ammunition I needed for what I planned to do next. With the evidence meticulously compiled, I met with my lawyer to begin drafting the divorce papers. But I wasn't finished. I wanted to ensure that the full truth came to light, not just for me but for everyone involved. On the same day my wife was served with divorce papers at her workplace, I arranged for Tom to pay a visit to Ben's wife. She had every right to know what kind of man her husband truly was. Tom handed her a folder containing all the evidence, photographs, timestamps, detailed reports of their affair. What she chose to do with that information was her decision, but I couldn't stand by and let the deception continue unchecked. The fallout was immediate and devastating, for Ben at least. While the evidence of my wife's infidelity didn't have a significant impact on my own divorce proceedings, Thanks to our state's no-fault laws, it turned Ben's life upside down. His wife didn't hesitate. She emptied their joint bank account, took their children, and left. When her father found out about the affair, he didn't waste time either. Ben was fired from his position at the family business. To make matters worse, since the family owned the home they lived in, Ben was evicted. Their divorce was far from amicable. It spiraled into a bitter and chaotic battle filled with court proceedings, restraining orders, and even physical altercations. During one particularly heated argument, Ben ended up with a broken nose, courtesy of his ex-wife's brother. Police were called, charges were filed, and it didn't end there. The last I heard, Ben had left the state entirely. He vanished from social media and seemed to disappear from public life altogether. In the aftermath, his ex-wife managed to rebuild. She took a job at her father's company, and when he eventually retired, she took over. Meanwhile, I focused on my own path forward. My ex-wife and I maintained a civil relationship, but only for the sake of our children. I kept our communication strictly limited to matters involving them. Now that they're grown, there's no reason for us to speak at all. I don't feel any lingering hatred, just indifference. She will always be their mother, and for that, she holds some importance. But beyond that, she no longer has any place in my life. This entire ordeal taught me a valuable lesson. Betrayal has consequences, and I made sure that message was delivered loud and clear.